Hello and welcome to CLEA'S World. I am Clea, and today I would like to share with you more of the information I've received from the 25th dimension during my last BQH hypnosis session. I will be reading from a transcript of the session, and when I refer to Lorrayne, I'm speaking of my practitioner who is reading me questions I prepared in advance of the session. And when I refer to me, I'm speaking of myself under hypnosis, which means that the answers are coming from the 25th. Before I jump in, I would like to thank you, as always, for subscribing, liking, and commenting on this video. You know, I read all your comments and I reply to all of them. I truly enjoy the interaction and just to hear from you and see where you're at with things, what you think of these videos, really anything. I know a lot of you like to ask questions of the 25th as well, and I always encourage those because it gives everybody a chance to learn something new. And I just love your questions. All right, I'm going to start reading here. Lorrayne, is the Dalai Lama on the team of the light or the dark? What about the Dalai Lamas before him? Me. So the Dalai Lama, unfortunately, is on the team of the dark. And the reason he's on the team of the dark, and it makes sense that he would be on the team of the dark, is because he's a monarch, really. He is the equivalent of a monarch for his people. And we know that everyone who's in power has either had to deal heavily with the side of the dark or is on the side of the dark. And in this way, they control them. They select them generation after generation. And yeah, I mean, we know that the dark has infiltrated religions everywhere. In fact, they've created religion, and they are very much interested in holding people within certain containers. And so the Dalai Lama is just one of those people. And I know many will not like to hear this. Many think the Dalai Lama is a saintly person, just like many think the Pope is a saintly person. And they were laughing here. And I know why they were laughing, considering what we have discovered about what's going on behind the scenes in the Catholic Church over the past many years. Again, we laugh because the essence can believe whatever he wants. It doesn't have to make any sense. And so a lot of people would be very hurt by finding out they wouldn't even believe it. They just don't want to believe it, which is okay. What they want to believe is what is true for them. That's what they experience. But if you actually look at the actual actions of the Dalai Lama, and not that many of them are advertised, because of course the media is on the side of the dark, is the advertising arm for the dark. So we wouldn't get the real lowdown on him, just like we never got it on Mother Teresa. But the Dalai Lama is very much, you know, in connection with governments. For example, the Indian government, who's been protecting him supposedly for decades now, and other governments. There is no way that you can be at that level of society. We say it again and again. You cannot be at the level of society unless you're working with the dark. Otherwise, if you were a threat, it would take you out. You would not survive. And I hope this is not too disappointing to too many people, but I wanted to know about this because I've been asking about other personages that we dealt with in this world, and I'm trying to figure out what's true and what's not true. So the 25th had told us that the scoop we got on Mother Teresa is completely not real, like what's happening. What was actually advertised was completely the opposite of reality. So I wanted to ask about the Dalai Lama as well, but I've also asked about people who have passed away, like Gandhi and Martin Luther King. And not everybody is dark, obviously, but I like to ask and find out. Lorrayne. Oh yeah, and he's aligned with some really creepy characters. So, okay. What is the story about Dalai Lamas in general? Are they the same essence, as they say, incarnated into the next body? Because this is the story, is that the Dalai Lama, whoever happens to be the person during a certain lifetime, is the same essence as being passed down from one generation to the other. And this is their call to power. This is why all of a sudden this person has a right to be in that position. Me. So some believe so. Some even on the side of the dark believe so. You know how they do all their experiments and they're cloning. They think they're cloning people and passing their essence because they want to be here. So they're passing their essence from one body to the other. Of course, none of that is true. But some of them do want to believe that. And so they think, some of them truly believe that's what it is. He also believes that he is the incarnation of the previous one. Laughing. They were laughing here because that's how they give themselves this idea of being in power, right? It's just like a monarch, just like a royal family. It's like, oh, I was born to this family or whatever it is. And because, of course, there is no blood relation like in a royal family where I rule by my blood connection, blah, blah, blah. In the case of the Dalai Lama, He can say, oh, I rule because it's the essence from so-and-so. So while some do believe it, a lot of them also know, no, they're just saying this so that the people will accept it. So of course, this person is selected, just like how is he selected? They select a child, of course, born within the dark ranks, and then they have to train them, which means they go through all kinds of stuff. They have to train them since they're children, right? They have to prepare them for these roles. And so a lot of them do know. It's not that it's the same essence, it's just we pick this child because it's got the right attitude or the right skills or the right whatever it is. And we're going to, it's not like they just try with one. They might try with multiples and then pick one that has more potential. They replace these people all the time. The Dalai Lama, you know, he might have been a different child when he was little, a different person when he was little. You know, the dark does these things all the time. They don't, it's not how you and I think of life as like, here's Lorrayne and here's Lorrayne as a child and she became this person. We could have 3 different actors playing you, Lorrayne, you know, if we were on the side of the dark. Who cares, right? They do all kinds of weird things. Lorrayne. Yeah, okay. Why was Tibet conquered and its culture mostly destroyed by China? Me. Because, I mean, they're trying to take over everything, right? We already said even the United States was supposed to become like China. And so whatever they can get away with, they will do. And in Tibet, because again, we already said the essence is free to believe whatever it wants, even though they had this person in charge, you know, they truly, the people there, a lot of people there are very good. And by good, we mean on the side of the light. They study, they live in a certain way. The vibration was very high. And not only, we already said, there's always codes left in everything. I mean, there's codes left in the Bible. So of course, there were codes in these texts, etc., etc. So you have people who might be very high vibration. We can't have that. They couldn't have that. It was a high concentration. All of a sudden, they had to destroy it. How could they destroy it? Now, isn't it interesting? They destroyed Tibet, took over Tibet, but somehow the Dalai Lama is okay. He's living in luxury somewhere else. This should tell you something already about the Dalai Lama. So yeah, they've been wanting to destroy the vibration. Lorrayne, thank you. Okay. Why does the dark show us in advance everything that's going to happen in the cartoon South Park? And I'm going to add the Simpsons. South Park had pictures of the Twin Towers coming down years before it happened, among other things. It's clear as from the dark, but why let us know what they have planned? Me. Yeah, so they mess with us. So they have fun. It's just for fun. Now, some of them truly believe that we actually spoke about this earlier in the session where we said there are people just like us. They might be deranged. They might show up as deranged and crazy and psychopathic, but they're people just like us. They have to justify to themselves when they do things, right? They must rationalize things. So how do they rationalize? Some of them say, well, I mean, we showed them. They were okay with that. They were laughing. South Park was funny. The Simpsons is funny. Look how many people love it, right? Like, that's a good enough excuse. Like, I showed them what I was going to do. I gave them 20 years to figure it out, and they didn't stop me, so I'm just going to do it. Some people actually believe that. Talk about rationalizing and justifying yourself, and they were laughing here. But generally speaking, no, they just mess with us. They're like, why not? Because look how dumb they are, and they're laughing. When you live, when that is your life, and that's what you deal with, why not? You're not doing that to be stopped, okay? It's not like you're putting it out there and saying, please stop me. Like, you know, sometimes you see in police movies where you have a serial killer sending letters to the police because really it's a cry for help. Because you basically just want to be stopped because you don't want to be doing what you're doing. It's not so much that. It's that they think it's funny. They really, truly have a good time. I mean, we're playing a game, right? So they have a good time taunting us and saying, look how dumb they are. Because really, on the surface, we do look dumb, don't we? They do control everything. I mean, they did control everything up until now, until very recently. So they're like, whatever. We can show them whatever. They don't even get it. I mean, they've been showing us movies like Contagion, and we didn't figure out what they were willing to do or what they were getting ready to do. They show us stuff all the time. They change the bad guys in the movies from China to Russia to whoever is convenient. And we're like, oh, that's funny. And they were laughing here. You know what I mean? They play with us. It's just like They just put all these things out to the subconscious so that, you know, we just have them there available. And not only when things happen, we're like, yeah, it totally makes sense that this happened. We don't look any further. This is how they've always done it, clearly in the last 20 or 30 years. I mean, things have been changing now for longer than that, but even more so in the last 20 to 30 years, because many of us have set ourselves up to awaken. We've actually seen through this. So that's why things don't go quite as smoothly. They did not expect that there would be so much resistance the very first day that they sprung the pandemic on us. They figured there might be a few outliers that would not go along, but they were ready to take us out, right? You know, fire you, make you poor, so you really don't count for anything, censor you off of the internet, make you disappear, cancel you. But they never expected that pretty much half of the world population from day one has said, this is weird. What's happening here? I don't like this. Those are the ones that said this is weird. Then there were people like you and Clea who said, there you go. Clea has not believed in the pandemic since day one. And she goes, they got us. And there are many people like Clea. It wasn't just Clea, because we knew it was happening. The people that wanted to know, they've known for a long time what was going to happen. We just didn't know when it was going to be unleashed. So this has not gone according to plan. But let me tell you, they've been planning it. They thought they had planned everything. Lorrayne, there is a rumor in the New Age community that the dark cannot manifest things, and we must do it for them, which is supposedly the reason they show us in advance what they intend to do. Is this just a way to say that we have to support and go along with their ideas for them to manifest, so it's not sufficient just for the dark to envision things? Me. Yeah, because again, many people in the New Age spirituality community, they do sometimes step in, but then they filter, right? So they're trying to say that the dark, for some reason, the dark is different from us. You know, we isolate them as them, and therefore they cannot manifest things. And there's all of us, and we have to manifest it for them. That's why they put that in our subconscious. Their essence is just like we are. They've manifested plenty, okay? And they were laughing. And I have to say, I agree with them. I don't know where the idea that they cannot manifest comes from. And we have supported them. So yeah, they're tapping into the fact that we have to go along with it. We must, okay? Because otherwise we wouldn't have the systems we have if we hadn't gone along with them. But they can manifest. Lots of stuff they manifest on their own. We don't have to support it, but we must support the things that affect all of us. So that's why, for example, we've had no nuclear bombs. They wanted that, but they can't just have that on their own if we're not willing to deal with the aftermath of having a nuclear attack. That's why this hasn't happened. So both things happen. They can manifest stuff for their lives all day long, just like we can, but they cannot on their own manifest stuff for the collective. Now, they can manifest for small groups of people. They can absolutely do that. We can do the same thing, right? Because maybe there's a small group of people that wants to latch onto an idea that we have, and all of a sudden you have that. But doesn't have to affect everybody. But if you want to affect everybody, everybody has to support you. You will not be supporting something you don't want. And you are not going to manifest something you don't want. You're not going to participate in something you don't want. So both things are true. Lorrayne. Thank you. Okay. You said this is New York is always the center of all kinds of attacks in the movies. New Yorkers have been primed for these things. What did you mean by primed? That they are okay with it by staying there and that they will believe it and go along with it if it happened because they have voted to stay there at a 3D level? Me. So yeah, basically people who stay in a certain area, especially after having experienced certain things that happen in that area, are okay with certain things happening. So for example, New Yorkers who are ecstatic about how things have been handled during the pandemic are okay with an authoritarian environment. What if the authoritarian environment became even more authoritarian, where they said criminality has gone up and from now on we're going to have curfew starting at 7 p.m.? The fact is, they will be okay with that. Most people will be okay with that. Now, there are some people who moved out because, again, every time you have these escalations, you have people that say, I can't live here anymore. I'm out of here and I don't want to deal with this. I want to go party. It's not that it's wrong that they tell me to do this. I think it's a great idea, but I like to party or I work until 10 p.m. I can't have curfew, whatever the reason might be. But the people that are staying, they're voting with their feet. They're literally saying, yeah, that's okay. That works for me. I think that's a great idea. Keep going. So what's the government going to do? Even at a 3D level, what's the government going to do? They're going to come up with the next thing. Say, from now on, in order to reduce traffic on the street, we're going to, I don't know, like they do in Italy, we have alternative tag days. So on even days, you can only circulate with your car if you have an even number plate. And on odd days, if you have an odd number plate. Why? Because people in Italy are okay with that. They think, well, you know what? It protects the environment. They justify everything, which means they support it. And so we get more of it. We've already spoken about the fact that in Italy now, there are places where they chip your trash. And if you don't separate your trash properly between 3 different options right now, some places already have 4, you get fined. They even watch your trash. Do you think the people that put these things in place, do you think they watch their trash or they get fined if they make a mistake? And they were laughing here because it is ridiculous. Anybody who thinks that the government is doing the same things they're telling you to do is in La La Land. I mean, we're not judging. We all have our own biases, our own things we like to believe, but some things are just so silly that it just makes you wonder how much we want to lie to ourselves. The laws are never for them. The laws are for you. But in Italy, people think, oh, but we're doing it for the environment. Therefore, they support this. They support it energetically and they support it actively every day. If people are not moving, it means they're okay with it. Just as simple as that. Claire went there for a couple of months. She saw what was happening. She goes, I can't move back here. Even if I wanted to, I could not move back here. Because she has no interest in this kind of authoritarian dictatorship. Of course, that's camouflaged as democracy. There is no democracy. There is nothing. And we already said the United States is just as dark at a government level. Governments are just dark institutions. It's just the way it is. But at least here, and they're referring to Missouri, on a daily basis, you are not as infringed upon as in Italy or in other countries that tell themselves that they are free. Lorrayne, it is a delusional game. Okay, thank you. And I will just say here, even in the United States, there are places that are even worse than Italy. Well, I don't know if you can be worse than Italy, but just as bad as Italy. I mean, we've seen California, we've seen Oregon, we've seen New York. So I'm not trying to single out Italy here, but in Missouri has been a lot better. And I realize how true it is when the 25th says we do align ourselves with what we wish to experience. In Missouri, everything that's been going on during the pandemic was extremely mild. And even then, I'm like jumping at the bits I cannot handle. I do not like to be told what to do. And the fact that I have been living in this reality for so long, I'm sure many of you can resonate. It's just mind-boggling. So I am definitely tired of it, and I'm definitely ready to take this down. All right, well, thank you so much for watching this, as always, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care, and bye-bye.